Welcome back. What you're seeing between the sessions is 6 very methodically curated solutions from SMEs and the startups who have done phenomenally well bringing the supply chain and digital together. And these solutions, I'm sure, will be something which the audience will be able to talk to. And we have their sessions, they have their booths available in our expo area. Kindly visit them. We'll move on to the next session. Kritika, you're off the screen?
No, stream is on.
Yeah. So the next in the session is something which all of us are looking at, the Indian tech companies who are playing a significant role in the life sciences and healthcare industry. And some of these organizations have a very large market share in this segment and also have implemented some unique solutions, including for vaccine supply chain. So to give us a kind of a global perspective on how technology is at play for vaccine supply chain, I now invite 2 senior-most versatile leaders from Tech Mahindra. Mr. Venugopal Reddy, known as Venu, is the global head for healthcare and life sciences in Tech Mahindra. Has over 30 years of working experience with reputed organizations and has been handling customers not only in life sciences, but also in retail, telecom, media, and banking sectors. Prior to joining information technology industry, Venu has worked as a non-commissioned officer for Indian Air Force in the area of aviation electrical and electronic systems. Venu practices fine art, painting especially, and is an avid cyclist. He has participated in Davita 2012, a 200-mile ride charity event for awareness on kidney care. Venu believes in multidisciplinary approach to problem solving and experiments with innovative ideas. Joining him in this session is Mr. Ami Rajput. He's the General Manager for Blockchain Business Unit at Tech Mahindra, and he has been part of the blockchain competency since its origin in Tech Mahindra. Some of his blockchain implementations are in the verticals such as manufacturing, telecom, banking, and public sector. Ami Rajput is part of the Mahindra Group's prestigious shadow board that works with the board of directors on strategizing and executing group-wise programs. Recently, Ami has joined as a blockchain fellow at World Economic Forum, Center for Fourth Industrial Revolution, to help define key policies with public and private organizations globally. An alumnus of Indian School of Business and Sardar Patel College of Engineering, he currently supports these institutions with mentorship to his students and through leadership in the supply chain and blockchain areas. Ami is an active volunteer in various non-profit organizations such as the Mumbai-based Umang Foundation and receiver of Limca Record 2013 for his extensive work with this foundation. I welcome Ami and Venu to the next session. Thank you.
Thank you, Ram sir. That was a very long introduction. Thank you so much for that. Venu, would you like to start the session? I'll share my screen.
Okay. So while you're bringing up the screen, I was listening to the previous discussion, fantastic coverage all through the evening on various aspects of COVID and the solutions that are coming into the marketplace. This pandemic has basically given many first of its kind to the world. When the vaccine comes and over the next couple of years, for the first time, maybe the entire humanity is going to be vaccinated. Maybe it will take 2 years, but this is for the first time on one particular condition, the whole of humanity will get vaccinated. This is also for the first time an mRNA-based vaccine is coming, and it is coming at this scale. This is also for the first time that in roughly about a 3-month span, the whole world has come to a grinding halt. This is also for the first time that the supply chains will be put to test across the world. This is also for the first time all governments across the countries will be involved in prioritizing, administering, and managing this program. Contrast this with a program like, let's say, Pulse Polio, which I have heard from my childhood, and it is for a small population of a certain age, and it was not easy, and we've been managing that for quite a long time. And imagine trying to do this for a 1.3 billion population. You got to employ technology to solve problems like this. And technology across multiple facets, whether it is infrastructure, inventory management, logistics, policies, prioritization, ensuring authenticity of the drug, ensuring safety of the drug. And this is also for the first time we are coming up with a solution vaccine. From the time the epidemic arrived to the release of vaccine, probably this is the shortest time any vaccine comes into the marketplace. And hence, what would be the long-term impact of these vaccinations? Is there a real-world evidence that we need to capture? What are the comorbidities of the people? How would it play out as we go into the future? Is there an opportunity for us to go back and tweak these vaccines, make them better? Are we building foundation for health infrastructure? Again, this is first time almost all the governments, whether you are an advanced country, whether you are a developing country, the governments would have realized that health infrastructure is inadequate to face anything like this. So lots of investment are expected to go and make the health infrastructure better as we go forward. So we look at particular type of technologies, and what's happening across the board is there is at a consumer side, there is rise of virtual health, telemedicine, remote patient monitoring, etc. That's a big shift that has happened. From a pharma R&D point of view, there is a lot of change because we want faster go to market, we want to find the solution. So can you do high processing? Can you simulate things? So we're talking about computer-based drug discovery, computational drug discovery, trying to create models and see if they can be simulated before you actually go for the clinical trials or the wet lab, basically. So you would see a play of computers in the drug discovery process, shortening the duration. Then the whole of, like, a lot of folks spoke about digitization of the supply chain, and all of us know that roughly about 30% of the vaccines go waste in the world today. WHO report basically in pilferage, in expiry. I think we cannot afford to do something like that when you are giving this vaccine for 7 billion people in a very short period of time. This problem has to be solved. So how do you ensure that? And then we're talking about, like, Pfizer came up with their vaccine requiring a minus 70 degrees centigrade temperature, and somebody else will come maybe slightly better. But all in all, mRNA-based vaccines, you would need a cold chain. And we don't have cold chain at tier 1, tier 2 levels. And here we are talking about, if you take India, covering 600,000 plus villages. How do you ensure these vaccines are stored in that temperature when we go and administer this vaccine in the villages? This is also a perfect opportunity for the world, basically to capture a baseline health record of the people, because anyway, you are reaching out to 7 billion people. Is there an opportunity to capture a minimum base health record of the people? Some vitals, some demographics are there already from a unique identity point of view. And if you are able to capture some of the comorbidities, and I think that can create a fantastic health infrastructure. So there is technology play in electronic medical record, electronic health record, digitization of some of the citizens' records available while we face this pandemic. And the third one, I think it is important to capture the real world evidence as people take these vaccines, and they should be in a position to report out any adverse events and capturing that, and then completing the feedback loop to the pharma companies to use that data, analyze data, and make the vaccines better and better. More importantly, create a base infrastructure for future discoveries and future pandemics, because this is not going to be the last one, and we got to take this opportunity to create that infrastructure. So among the many technologies that are at play, I think today we want to cover a little more deeper into the blockchain-based technologies, because here multiple stakeholders are involved, and we want to have a trusted environment created while you are tackling a problem like this, a complex problem and a worldwide problem. I think blockchain perfectly offers as a technology, a fantastic technology choice to look at to solve this problem. And with that, I will hand over to Amey. Amey, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Indi, so much for setting the base for the technology. Now, I'm going to quickly brief about how the technology works in a physical, in tangent with the physical infrastructure by creating a digital twin of the complete supply chain. Though there are some pilots that are already conducted on this. In the last 2 years, we've been working with various organizations along with our partners in the technology side for organizations like UNICEF, Gavi, and the others, who basically are the buyers of such kind of vaccines and one of the biggest buyers in the world for vaccines, right? Now, what we have seen is typical traditional technologies basically fulfill the need for a certain set of information coming from a certain set of places, right? For example, ERP and traditional transport management applications can store information and share information in a smaller set of tier 1 partners that they have. Similarly, in the manufacturing side, it only goes up to maybe a packaging level, a distributor level. And after a distributor, the manufacturing organization don't necessarily have a visibility of what's happening with a vaccine or any product that is going beyond the distribution side. Even organizations, even applications like Even and Covin only address the problem for the country side, and when they look at integrating to the data that the manufacturer might have, for example, the serialization data or the batch data, or even before that, the purchase data or the packaging data that is required to have a unit level traceability. These applications today have been built very well to address the problem they were meant to solve. But when it comes to an overall picture of end-to-end supply chain, there is a need to have an application that is a distributed application, touches all these stakeholders together and brings in kind of efficiency by providing visibility to data sets which are currently in data silos. We've done a pilot along with our partners in this area, where we have addressed problems like transit information, inventory information, understanding of when a certain inventory is going to expire, understanding a certain inventory which is expired, how to move it back, as per the regulatory norms. We've also seen WHO looking at guiding the manufacturers to enable the ecosystem with serialization data. But many manufacturing still don't have a serialization data available for all their products, all their SKUs. And it's a long-term process to get things like that in place and then move to an end-to-end visibility. We've developed certain set of capabilities into the application that may enable any organization, no matter what stage they are, whether they have a serialization, they don't have a serialization, or they have a set of application, and integrate to the blockchain-based application, which can then push and pull data and move it forward to the next organizations. In this complete supply chain, we're also looking at how we can create visibility to someone like a government organization, right? For someone like sitting in sitting in a state level or a district level and trying to address the need of that district, how can they source the inventory from a certain supplier and understand where this inventory is stored today, whether it's a near location, is it at a regional level, at a country level, or not even in the country, and thereby address the demand that is coming in. We've also looked at having unit level traceability by integrating the serialization application so that anyone can look at the inventory in a real-time basis and also order the required inventory, move the inventory from a certain location to the other basis, the demand that is being forecasted. Now, it is also important to know that though this is an application that provides visibility to the government and the buyers and the immunization program running organization, the farmer also benefits a lot from these inventory related data and the supply chain data sets. And we'll come to that in the following slide and take help of Venu to explain how that can come in. Now, a certain set of compliance regulations that Gavi, UNICEF, and others require is to have a capability to integrate some international applications and standards like HL7 and GS1, which is required to make sure there's interoperability of data that can come into picture in the end-to-end supply chain. We also worked along with these organizations to create something like a COVID app even before the COVID, and this was with respect to having vaccines like polio, BCG, and the others implemented and administered to children, so that their parents can look at what kind of vaccines have been administered and make sure they have a vaccine certification available, they have a scheduling app available. This has been tried, tested, and available in the market on an Android-based application itself. This can be then integrated to something like an Arogya Setu, something like a Covin, or some other requirement a country might have. Now, we're definitely beneficial being in India that this infrastructure is available. To tell you something very important about the global perspective, the global countries are not as good as India or some of the African nations are, where last 20 years this kind of investment has already gone into picture. So we are discussing with some of the North American countries and some of the South Asian countries, South Asian developed nations who also are looking at something like this to be set up because they don't necessarily have that kind of strong infrastructure like India. In this past 2 years, we have worked with our partners to get MOUs along with the governments. We have looked at how this data can not only be used for visibility in supply chain, but also for pharmacovigilance. One of the most important things that Gavi expects is the problem with respect to the safety of the vaccine, because it's the fastest rapid developed vaccine today, and how much of what kind of safety does that vaccine have with respect to 6 months timeline, 1 year timeline, and how do we get that information from the ground level to address the problems that might occur. So that's one big problem that such an initiative like COVID can solve for the public health. Moving to leveraging the aggregated data, Venu would request your, sharing your knowledge and your experience with respect to, how would the farmer look at it, such kind of data sets beyond the compliance reasons. Venu, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, so one of the important things that pharma is valuing a lot these days is about real world evidence. It is one thing to do clinical trials and then commercialize the drugs, but are they getting real world evidence on the use of these drugs, and what are the adverse events, and how do you use that information to keep on making the product better and better as you go into the future? And this is in one way a lot more controlled environment in which these vaccines are going to be given, and hence a perfect opportunity to capture real world evidence and also establish some of these platforms so that this could be used for in future drugs that are used for oncology treatments, etc. in future, any long-term care based products. So pharma would definitely value the technological advances that we can make in capturing real world evidence as part of this COVID management. The second one is about clinical trials. Again, we have seen that the product is coming in a very, very short period of time, and never before it has happened that we invented a vaccine so fast. And also, this is almost like mission impossible, the shortest time, and then you're using a absolutely new technology like mRNA technology, which needs an impossible to use kind of a temperatures in a regular environment, and you're trying to reach 7 billion population, right? So in a situation like that, clinical trials in the shortest period of time and more and more dependable clinical trials will become important, and ability to capture the data, analyze the data, so that the researchers can actually benefit from this one. And hence something like blockchain enabled web-based interface would be very useful in conducting the clinical trials as well. Then we all know, again, this is a significant cost for many of the governments. While on one side, the economy has come to a grinding halt and most of the economies are trying to recover. But on top of it, we still are not out of the woods, and we just wanting to get out of the woods now. So pricing becomes an important thing, because there would be, I'll bet that there'll be at least 4 or 5 other vaccine players that would come into the market very soon. And governments will then start questioning about the efficacy of these vaccines. Again, we're all going into it with a lot of assumption. We don't know whether the antibodies would stay for lifelong or the vaccines need to be given again and again. Would we ever be able to eradicate this from the globe, or we'll have to continue to manage these repeated vaccines? If that is the case, then the cost burden is going to be huge for governments. And at that point in time, the questions like, why would I prefer one vaccine versus another vaccine? And why would I pay X amount versus Y amount? And so the product owners have to prove that it is producing the necessary health outcome at some stage. It may not be the question for tomorrow, but once this becomes mature at some point in time, those would be the question. And this is also a significant infrastructure that is needed even today in US, whether it is Medicare or Medicaid driven health outcome based pricing. In India, we all have gone through a list of pricing cuts on the stands and things like that, and hence across the globe governments would question the outcomes before they pay the price, and it becomes important for pharma companies to invest into an infrastructure like that so that they can showcase outcome. So across this, what you see is data and analytics play significantly as a technology. So there is opportunity to capture the data, there is opportunity to analyze this data and use it for both research purpose and modification of the drug purpose, and also for managing the expectation from a price and outcome purposes. So this is the technology play here. Ami, over to you.
Thank you, Venu. So with that, we come to the end of our session. Sorry.
Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Ami and Venu. Wonderful. I think the capabilities what you have built and the way you have taken it to the global market is something which is something to be emulated, and our audience will be definitely benefited. And we'll definitely be in touch with you in the larger picture of vaccine distribution as we move forward. And definitely as an organization, we are trying to take this vaccine distribution as one of the key topics. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Raghu.
Thank you, Raghu. Thank you for the
Thank you so much.
opportunity.
Kritika, you're playing some.